The person I've known quite literally for 43 years. She's a managing director at Jpmorgan with more than 20 years experience in operations in various roles, including operations manager, chief administrative and communications officer, and program manager. Bernadette believes that to whom much is given, much is required. In 2017, she was Harlem YMCA Black Achievers in Industry Program. Other community service and leadership awards include the YMCA Evening of Style Award, United States Volunteer Service Award from the President's Council on Service and Civic Participation, and the Top 100 Under 50 Diverse Executive Award from Diversity MBA Magazine. She is a very, very proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and she is one of those leaders who has literally brought in, and I say this in all seriousness, hundreds of young people who look just like you to Jpmorgan Chase. You could not have better here with you to talk to you about being your authentic self in corporate America and what Jpmorgan Chase can offer in that regard. Bernadette, Terrence, thank you for being here.
Can you hear us? Mm-hmm. Okay. But I think. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me without the microphone? I can. Can Denise McElvey hear me without the microphone? Okay.
Can Denise McElvey hear me?
Yes, but not well. All right. How about we? How about now? That sounds good. Okay, so we'll go back and forth. We'll improvise. How's that? Okay, so we're going to spend some time having some authentic conversation with you, okay? And then we're going to open it up toward the end for your questions. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to actually turn to my colleague, Terrence. I think he's going to ask me the first question.
Yes, Bernadette, you are in the hot seat right now. So Dr. Allen did give some good remarks in regards to who you are and how you've been here. But let's take these students on a journey of how you got to where you are today, and also to be ultimately named Managing Director at Jpmorgan Chase. For those in the room, like, Managing Director is the highest you can go. So she's there. So tell us how you got there.
How many of you have had an internship before? Raise your hand. Okay. That was my first exposure to Jpmorgan. So I think I was a sophomore, junior in college, and I was in Inroads. Anyone in Inroads? Okay. And so I got a job at Jpmorgan. I was excited. I was making good money. And we started at Jpmorgan, and I say we, I had a couple other interns that were there with me. And for whatever reason, we started 3 weeks after, I'll call it, all the other interns. So I got there, I got on the scene, I was professionally dressed, I had my hair done. I don't think we did nails back then, but I had my hair done and had my nice outfit on, and I was ready to do work. And so it was hard to fit in. It was hard to fit in because I got there 3 weeks after all the other interns. And I tried for a little bit of time, but eventually I got comfortable and I started just interacting with the other Inroads interns. We'd go to lunch every day, I'd come in every day. One time I did my work. I'd ask questions. I was an introvert, so I was a little quiet. And to make a long story short, I got to the end of the 10-week program, and guess what? They make offers at the end of the summer, right? I did not get an offer to work at Jpmorgan. And for a moment, you could say I was heartbroken, but then I quickly turned and said, you know what, I didn't want to work there anyway. I didn't want to work there. But you know deep down in your heart, you're offended. You're like, I didn't get a job, but I'm going to play it off and I'm going to say I didn't want to work there. And a couple of weeks later, I talked to the recruiter, and I was absolutely shocked by why I didn't get the job. 3 main reasons I didn't get the job. Not because I didn't understand the work. not because I didn't do the work and not because I showed up late. I didn't get the job because, number one, I didn't build relationships with my peer group. Right? So I kept in my comfort zone. I only interacted with the inroads interns. I didn't make nice with all the other interns and try to build a relationship. The second thing I didn't do, which was an unspoken rule. Remember I said I came in professionally attired? I had on pants. I wore pants every day. And back then, and I know this sounds like ancient, women didn't wear pants. And that was an unwritten rule. So I was expected to wear a skirt, and guess what? No one told me that. And that's not what the dress code said. Right? And the third reason I didn't get the job was I didn't assert myself enough. I was very much an introvert. I still am an introvert. I had to learn, you know what, if I'm going to be successful, I had to learn to be a learned extrovert. But again, I kept to myself, and so I didn't get the offer. Fast forward, 1992, I graduate from college. My mom passed away probably about 6 months after I walked the stage. And I didn't want to do anything for a while. And my girlfriend, who was in the same sorority, she said, let's go to a job fair. And I said, okay, I went. I got up to the table, and she said, there's Jpmorgan. I said, I don't want to work there. Like, they didn't hire me back in the, they didn't hire me, so I don't want to work there. She said, just go talk to them. So I went up to the table, and I saw the recruiter, and she looked on my resume, and she picked out one thing on my resume. Anybody want to guess what it was? Delta Sigma Theta. And she said, I always wanted to be in that sorority. And I said, you know what, let me get my act together. Let me act like I want to be here. So I said, you know what, it's never too late. Like, you can pledge grad chapter. And there was something in that conversation that stood out of 300 people at a job fair, which tells you it's not always about all the academic curriculum you had. It's often about the connection you make with people that make you stand out. Because your resume could look very similar to other people, but something stood out, and it happened to be my sorority. I got an interview, I got the job, and 26 years later, I'm still at Jpmorgan. And if I were to summarize my career to try to make it short, it has been a journey. It's been a journey of constant challenge. Anytime I have felt like I'm a little bored, I've gotten a phone call to say, hey, Bernadette, would you consider this other role? I've always been in Delaware. I've always been in what's called operations. I've grew up doing an analyst role, and then I become a manager of people, then a manager of managers. But I've always lived by, I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability. I may not be the smartest in the room, but you're not going to outwork me at my job, because I'm going to apply myself. And as I am today, I'm in the private bank. I spent 24 years in what's called the corporate and investment bank. I'm now in the private bank, and I manage individuals who are responsible for onboarding affluent individuals, right? So wealthy people who want to bank with Jpmorgan, my team is responsible for bringing them onto our platform. So I'll end with telling you about MD. Think of the hardest thing you've done in life to date. MD, getting promoted, which happened in 2017, was the hardest thing I accomplished. Like, it was tough, and the reason it was tough is because what got me to the various levels before managing director would not get me to the level of managing director, because I had to flex a muscle, which I would call, it wasn't as strong as my other muscles. I had to flex the muscle of taking risks. I had to flex the muscle of building relationships, right? Influence, and stepping outside of my comfort zone. So you'll learn more about me, but that's kind of my high-level background. And with that, I'm going to ask Terrence. I know you pretty well, I think. We run in similar circles outside of work. But tell the students here, tell them about your journey, and I want to make sure you specifically talk about, I've been at Jpmorgan my whole career, but you didn't start at Jpmorgan,
Right.
and you pivoted in 2005. So tell them about your journey and why you made the change to come to Jpmorgan.
So similar to you, I was also in inroads. And I had an internship one summer. And in fact, let me just step you back. One thing that I will say just from the start is that never be afraid to have a conversation, never be afraid to ask questions, and never be afraid to go after something that doesn't even exist. So I'll give you this story. So I was at a career fair, and I had gotten admitted to inroads. One thing that college taught me, I was an electrical engineering major. So college teaches you what you like, but it also teaches you what you don't like. And so I knew that I was more of a people person, that I wanted to
be more of a consultant and do technology. So I didn't want to be a project engineer. I figured that out pretty quickly. So I said, you know, Accenture sounds like a great company. I could be a software engineer. I gravitated towards, you know, computer science discipline. I said, that's what I want to do. They were at this career fair, and there were literally, it seemed like to me, like hundreds of people standing around these very affluent looking folks that had something to say. And at the time, I didn't know much about consulting, and I walked up, I had my resume, and I was a sophomore at the time, and back then, there really weren't a whole lot of opportunities for sophomores. So I told them that I was looking for an internship at Accenture, Philadelphia office. I'm from Chester, it would be an easy commute for me. They said, oh, we don't have an internship program. And so I'm like, wow. So at first, I was kind of deflated, but then I said, I think you should start an internship program this summer. And they kind of laughed it off or whatever, and I said, here's my resume. I really want you to take a look at my credentials. I think I have a lot to bring to the table. Fast forward, I got a call back, an interview, and I interned with Accenture for 2 summers, and then they made me a full-time offer as a technology analyst coming into their entry-level program. And what that said to me is that, one, they were willing and ready to take a risk. They saw something in me, and then they increased their level of opportunities for internships, and then they were then onboarded to En-ROADS, so they weren't even a member of En-ROADS at the time. So I started my career with Accenture because I wanted to travel, I wanted to work with Fortune 500 companies, and I wanted to build enterprise-level software. I wanted to make a change, like from a technical perspective. So I did that for many years. And then in around 2005, 2004-ish, 2005, you know, the consulting lifestyle kind of wore on me a little bit. And I said, I wonder what it'd be like to sleep in my own bed at night. That might be interesting. So I started to take a look back on the some of the job boards, and I was like, Jpmorgan Chase. So Accenture is a company that places you in various companies in different industries. But I had never done financial services, so I was like, wow, that could be interesting. And they were hiring a lot of technologists that did similar types of things that I had done. So I said, let me try that out. And it was a totally new area. I had always built software, but I never understood what happened after I pushed my code. So it was an infrastructure role. I knew nothing about infrastructure. So it was a challenging role. I said, I'm going to join Jpmorgan Chase. What I found it to be was very much a challenge. So I could fall back on my technical skills, but I really had to dig deep into really, you know, go back to my problem-solving skills, my analytical capabilities that I had from an engineering program to really understand, how do I build out a database? How do I migrate from one data center to another? What does it mean to put in firewall rules for this large global organization that has to serve customers every single second when you log into the website? Fascinating. And then they threw me on projects like, you're going to rehost the authentication database, which is the front door to Chase Online. Go. And when I tell you,
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. So I'm the reason you can log into Chase Online. If you have a Chase account, thank me, because when you log in, you can see your account and everything is there. So that was a great transition for me. And what it says is that you never stop learning in your career. There's, of course, challenges along the way. And even at Accenture, I had always been really dedicated to diversity and making sure that we were putting our best foot forward. And I remember delivering a training at Accenture, and I got up in front of the room and I said, I am the most diverse person in this room. And then I let it pause for a second. And I said, and it's not because I'm a black technologist at Accenture, it's because I have a beard. And at that time, men did not wear facial hair, but I had to make a decision in my career, and honestly, it was more of a health concern for me, because when I shaved, I broke out really bad, and it got really trying for me, right? So I said, I made a conscious decision that if someone's gonna pass me up because I have facial hair, then maybe I should choose a different culture for a firm. And so I've had facial hair ever since then. And so at Jpmorgan Chase, we talk about bring your whole self to work.
Yes.
I bring my whole beard to work every single day.
Thank you, Darren. So, ask me something. What do you?
Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Pepsi.
Wait a little longer, you might drink diet too. Android or iPhone?
iPhone. iPhone.
Oprah or Ellen?
Oprah. Oprah for sure, all day.
So one of the great things I love about JPMorgan Chase is that we have a great CEO, Jamie Dimon. He is a very bold leader. He created a program 2 or 3 years ago called Advancing Black Leaders. And it's a real program that we have staff dedicated to advancing people within the firm to higher heights. Jamie said publicly, on paper, on record, that we are not doing enough to advance our black leaders to highest levels within this firm. We need to do more on attracting talent from the entry level and growing that talent through the firm. And now Jamie has launched a new initiative called Advancing Black Pathways. So Bernadette, why don't you tell us a little bit about what that means, the key objectives are, and why students here at Delaware State would be interested in some of those findings.
Sure. So Advancing Black Pathways, anybody heard of it? Okay, that's okay, because now when you leave here, you'll be able to say you've heard of it. Advancing Black Pathways, it is a very bold step on the part of JPMorgan. And Terrence talked about Jamie Dimon, who's our CEO, right? JPMorgan has 250,000 employees in the world. And our CEO said, we are going to invest in black people. We are going to invest in black people, and we're going to expand opportunities for everyone by doing so. Some companies won't even say the word black. So for the CEO to feel comfortable enough to put on paper and to tap one of the most senior black women in the company, who we call T, the Sunda Duckett, to lead this effort, on top of her BAU, business as usual job, he's asked her to lead this effort. And there's 3 areas that we're focusing on. One is around wealth. And if you think about it, when you graduate, one of the major purchases you may eventually make is what? Like if you think about your dreams, what do you eventually want to purchase? And the answer is not a car. Say it louder. A house, right? We want to help individuals have more wealth so that they can purchase homes, right? Education. The second pathway or the second focus of the program will be education. JPMorgan has made a public statement, and when we say we're going to do something, I can tell you we do it. Our goal is to hire 4,000 black students in the next 5 years. 4,000. And we believe that what gets measured gets done. Okay? What gets measured gets done. So 4,000 black students in the next 5 years. Okay? And in terms of career, we want to increase the representation of blacks at JPMorgan throughout the ranks. So that means if you come and you work for us, that's not good enough. We want to see you progress. And if I think about my own career, and Terrence asked about getting to MD, I almost said, I don't want to do it because it's too hard. And the reason I kept going is because of you. Because I wanted people to see that if I can do it, and I won't tell you my GPA from when I graduated, but I will tell you it wasn't a 3.0. Now, high school was a 3.8, but college it was not. But I wanted to show people like you and my peers at JPMorgan who hadn't gotten to that level that if I can do it, you can do it. And so with a public statement, right, about investing in black people and creating opportunities for everyone, because what we do in this program can be leveraged regardless of your color, right, regardless of your ethnic background, your gender, your sexuality. So I am very confident that Advancing Black Pathways is a bold move for JPMorgan. And one of our other components of the education pathway is to build relationships with HBCUs. Right, HBCUs, right? So I'm really excited about Advancing Black Pathways. I didn't think it got better than Advancing Black Leaders, right? And the head of our Advancing Black Leaders program is Valerie Rainford, and she's made history at JPMorgan based on the strides that she's made in attracting, retaining, and developing our black talent. And so to me, it was another step that JPMorgan made. We have an amazing group of people who are invested in this program. How many of you know of Condoleezza Rice? Soledad O'Brien, General Colin Powell, Kevin Hart, Melody Hobson. Those are just some of the people on our advisory council who have committed to help make that program successful, right? Notice that group in and of itself is diverse, right? Kevin Hart, Condoleezza Rice, diverse, right? So that's a little bit about advancing Black pathways. So Terrence, I'm gonna actually turn and pivot a little bit and ask you, right? So we're talking about Jpmorgan Chase, that's where we live and breathe every day. I'm gonna ask you, what is it really like to work at Jpmorgan? Like, what is the culture? Like, what does it feel like every day? You talked about being your authentic self and your beard. I too had an experience with being my authentic self. I had always worn my hair, I always had a perm, right? And always wore my hair straight, you know, with curls in it or whatever. And I was getting a little older, and it was taking more time in the morning, and I said, you know what? I want something different. And I was a little nervous. I was like, because I don't want people to judge me if I go natural. And I saw a leader at our company, T. Duckett, who had braids. She had braids. She's 2 levels below the CEO. And have you ever seen a Chase, it looks like an octagon, it's our brand for our retail banks. Has anybody ever seen that
Looks
symbol?
like this.
So, yeah, so bottom line is she's responsible for all the retail banks across the United States. But bottom line is I said, you know what? If she can wear braids and stand up at Investor Day in front of our clients, I can wear my hair like this. And so while my husband doesn't appreciate it, because he's like, you need to go back to, this is the way I go to work every day, and no one changed how they interacted with me. So talk to us a little bit more, Terrence, about what's the culture, you know, what's it feel like?
So, as you mentioned, we do have over 250,000 employees, so our culture is definitely global. Every day, I'm talking to somebody from a different country, and it's unique in a sense that even though we're global, we are still very much connected and collaborative. So I'm collaborating with people in different time zones, in different countries, in different regions on various projects every single day. So I would say global, collaborative, and definitely inclusive. So when you talk about bringing your whole self to work, we have tons of people within the firm that really are dedicated to not just diversity, right, but the actual inclusion piece of that puzzle. Making sure that we have a voice within the firm, making sure that you actually feel a part of the solutions that we're trying to provide for our customers and our internal clients, which I feel is absolutely amazing. In the group that I work in, it's technology for social good, diversity and inclusion. So I actually have the opportunity to have diversity and inclusion a part of my day job. And honestly, it doesn't get much better than that, because my job is to make sure that we are not only bringing people in, but they feel included in what we're doing as a part of global technology, that they feel like they have an advancement pathway to move throughout the ranks, and also that we can retain them over time. So it is amazing to see the initiatives that we have at the firm, and that they're going to continue to grow, and that Jamie and others support them. One thing that I really love about the firm also is that while it's so big, it's really very small. And so the way we do that is through technology. Yesterday, you know, Bernadette and I were trying to connect on some things in regards to this event here today. And she was like, hey, are you near like a phone? And I was like, yeah, let me just run into a conference room, because we can see each other. You know, it's totally Jetsons in corporate America now. So whether it's on your phones at your desk, or a telepresence room, or connecting through instant message, you're at a seconds away from being able to see and touch someone within the firm, to the point where sometimes you haven't even met those people in person. In fact, I introduced Bernadette to someone here from Delaware who has been in Delaware for a while, but she never met in person, but she knew exactly who he was. And there was an immediate connection. So that connectional tie within the firm, like it transcends where you actually work, which I find to be fantastic. And I think one of the main reasons why I stay at Jpmorgan Chase, it's been over 14 years at this point, is the people that I work with are amazing. And the passion of what I'm able to do and accomplish is unsurmountable. And the ability for you to move and grow and have mobility within this firm is unmatched. Within 14 years, I've had over 4 major roles within this firm. And you can do the math. So we're constantly challenging people to develop their skills. and move on to bigger and better projects and roles and to advance their careers. So that is our culture. That is why I'm here. That is why I'm going to stay. And you are an inspiration. You have advanced, and so I also feel that I can do it too. So thank you.
Thank you, Terrence. So we're going to open it up to see if you have any questions. We have more, but we'd love to hear from you. I see the gentleman to my left. Tell us your question.
And do we have some additional mics that are going to come around, or do we want to just take one of these? Okay.
Okay, they're coming, but go ahead. We can hear you. And we'll, Sure. So that's Jabari, if you don't know him. He's an accounting major. And his basic question was, talk to us about work-life balance. He wants to climb and he wants to be a CEO, CFO, something one day. But his question is, how do you balance it all? And the first thing I'm going to tell you is work-life balance is specific to you, okay? And so I was a late bloomer in terms of getting married. So I just got married 7 years ago in 2012. Thank you. Let me tell you, my husband would be beaming if he were here and he could have seen you guys clap. So I was always about my career, heads down, get the job done, succeed, etc. But I got married late in life. And when I got married, I realized, you know what, I have to change my priorities. Because when I met him, I said, look, one of my top priorities is my job. So if you don't understand that, we're not going to move forward. But bottom line is, you have to set your priorities and you have to set boundaries. And if you eventually want to be a leader, no matter what career you go, no matter where you work, you have to set boundaries and you have to set example for the people around you. Because I had a very bad habit of working late. But what I can tell you is now with the technology we have, now with the tools we have in the industry, you need to work more efficient. You need to learn to work smart. It is not about the hours you spend in the office. It's not about how long you work. It's about how smart you work. And so what I would tell you is, for me, the boundaries I've set for myself is I cut off at a certain point at night. I don't send emails out to my team. Sometimes I want to, but I don't. On the weekends, I spend time with my family, with my husband. But I also, in terms of like what it means to you, I also had to reprioritize some things, right? So once I had a husband, I had been very active in my sorority. So I had to say, you know what, I can't make that the same priority I did for the past X number of years. So again, it's really about balancing and setting boundaries for yourself. It is possible. Because people want you to have a balanced life, because guess what? My husband always says, happy wife, happy life, okay? When you have happy employees, you have more productive employees. So companies want you to have balance so that you can be more productive. Thank you, Jabari. We had a lot more questions. We'll try to make our answers shorter.
Hi, my name is Denise, and I'm a psychology major. I know with psychology you can go into many different fields. I was just wondering, what does Jpmorgan Chase have for psychology students? Because me personally, I want to go into the engineering side of it, and you guys talked about the financial side and the technology side. So I was just wondering, what do you guys have for psychology majors?
So let me answer this question. Does anybody want to take a guess how many employees in Delaware there are for Jpmorgan Chase? Take a guess. 5,000. Give me another number. 10. 2. The answer is, and I heard it this morning, about 12,000 employees. 12,000 employees. And we have a unique opportunity in Delaware that every single line of business in Jpmorgan and all of our corporate functions have employees working in Delaware. And I can tell you that there are so many different jobs that you could have at the company. You can be in human resources. You can be in, we have nurses on site. You can be in recruiting. You can be in technology. You can be in operations. You can be part of the Advancing Black Leaders or Advancing Black Pathways program. So I can tell you that regardless of what your major is, if you are sitting in the room We are hiring people not for their major, but for their skills and for their aptitude and for their hunger to learn and their hunger to drive whatever area they are in to drive forward and deliver results. So Terrence, I don't know if you want to add to that because you do a lot in terms of recruiting, but if you want to add to that.
Yeah, and I think it's really around exploring the potential opportunities, and Bernadette mentioned quite a few, and we literally have every profession within the firm, and not to be funny, but we even have pilots, right, that fly our planes. But we have literally everyone, and throughout this journey, you're going to start to uncover what are those things that excite you. With psychology, there's so many ways you can go with that. Is it training? Is it recruiting? Is it HR? Is it you know, one of our rotational programs, right? So it's understanding what the opportunities are, speaking to as many people as possible, and then we even have tools within our recruiting systems that allow you to take a survey that will kind of generate the top opportunities that could be presented for you. And so we'd be happy to talk to you about what those opportunities are and how you want to progress through them. Because honestly, I will tell you, when we say we're hiring every major, we are, but not because of, you know, that psych course or that computer science course. It's about being able to show that you have demonstrated, you know, those skills to get through the program and also give value back.
How many of you are not in the business? How many of you are outside of it? And the reason I applaud you is because Jpmorgan is not just focused on business and economics majors, right? I started off accounting, quickly learned after 2 years, high school accounting doesn't equal college accounting. So I changed to finance. That's what I graduated with, a degree in finance. But again, to Terrence's point, we hire from every major, every discipline. What other questions?
Okay, students, if you have a question, please raise your hand, stand up, and please introduce yourself as well. Thank you. So if you have a question, raise your hand. We'll make sure the mic gets around to you as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Keisha Williams. I'm a computer science major, and I want to know what I can expect from being a software developer, and what type of projects you work on.
So as a software engineer, there's tons of projects that you can work on, and it really does depend on what line of business you come into. So as an example, Bernadette said that we do have every line of business here. So I can give you an example of a project that you could be working on. So if you came into our consumer business, right, so Jpmorgan has a wholesale side and a retail side. So retail includes things like credit cards and mobile technology and things like that, whereas wholesale is dealing with people with a lot of money. That's what Bernadette deals with. But so as a software developer, you could have been the developer that programmed the app that allows us to take pictures of our checks and deposit it automatically into our accounts. You could have been the person that was working on the project to roll out Chase Pay, you know, similar to Apple Pay and all the other platforms that allow you to pay through your phone. You could have been the one to redesign our Chase Online platform to be able to get the amount of clicks down from 10 to 5. And so we're putting you on these types of programs and interspersing you with different exposure to things like cybersecurity and all the other, you know, buzzwords that you hear out there that really transcend any one particular role, but it's going to get you the experience that you need over a 10-week period during the internship. And then in a full-time program, it's going to give you the development and the technical skills to really hone in on where you want to be for a long-term standpoint.
We have another question on the right over here. Okay, great.
Hi, good morning. My name is Shadi Elcher, and I'm a psychology major. So I'm also a student. My family and I are from the area of Richmond and Davis, and I wanted to know if you guys have any programs or initiatives to increase Jpmorgan's presence in these offer financial literacy to the Caribbean. I know you have a location in the Bahamas, but I also know you guys are interested in expanding that.
So, to your point, right, we're a global company. We have an office in the Bahamas. I tried to get an assignment to go there. I wasn't successful. But when I was in the Bahamas last summer, I did visit that office. So I will tell you that the sky is the limit for the Advancing Black Pathways program. And we are exploring opportunities. The program literally launched, I want to say, the middle of February. And so we are exploring opportunities to increase wealth for underrepresented communities. We are exploring opportunities to create different pathways for people to enter the workforce and to improve their access to education. So what I would tell you is, have I heard of that specific initiative that you mentioned? No, but what I will tell you is that we have different channels to feed ideas and recommendations into our program. And so I'd like to talk to you afterward to hear a little bit more about what you're thinking, because I'd be happy to share that with the Advancing Black Pathways program.
Okay, guys, we're going to take 2 more questions, and then we've had some logistical
And we do have some gifts for
announcements.
those of you who are asking questions from Valerie Rainford, who is the author of that book that you just received. So,
Thank you.
yes, I think there's a question in the back, the young lady with the black and white suit. Okay.
Hello, my name is Taryn Green. I'm a junior here. I'm a finance and banking major as well. My question is, you spoke a lot about promotion at Jpmorgan. I want to know what they do to support those who would like to work or get some.
Yeah. So I can tell you, when I said getting promoted to MD was one of the most difficult tasks that I've experienced, I was being for real. I'll never forget the first conversation I had with a manager where I told her I wanted to get promoted. She kind of laughed. He was like, Bernadette, you are not ready. And I can tell you, this same woman came to my wedding. This same woman just retired about a year ago, and we communicate and we text each other, and she's one of my biggest supporters. But the support that we give to people who want to get promoted, when I kept saying that to different managers as I progressed, and I told a manager that, she said, you know what, Bernadette, I'm going to get you a coach, an executive coach. She said, because there's a couple things you do that I don't think you realize you do. And I said, well, what do I do, Melissa? What do I do? And she said, have you ever realized that instead of disagreeing with me, you'll say, I don't disagree? And I was like, no. She said, Bernadette, that's 2 negatives. She said, tell me you disagree. She's like, I don't want to be surrounded by people who are yes people. She's like, I want your different perspective. I don't want you to agree with me because I want us to have a better team. And so in short, she signed me up for a program called Management Leadership for Tomorrow. It's a 1-week program in Virginia. It was the most defining, pivotal moment for me in my career in terms of my development and my evolution, because I got assigned an executive coach. And the one thing I learned, has anybody ever heard of acid reflux or heartburn? I learned why I had acid reflux, and it wasn't a doctor just said take Nexium. Well, what I learned by taking this test, it was some type of online test, was that I had what was called internal churn. So someone would say something, and inside I'd be thinking, oh God, what are they talking about? Like I would have these thoughts in my head, but I wouldn't say them, because I wasn't being my complete authentic self. And what that created inside of me was this internal churn, which then created acid reflux. And so when I learned to have a braver voice, a courageous voice, and voice that, people saw the authentic me, and that was key in my development. So again, managers, you have to own your own career, right? But it's all about having the conversation. And once I was confident enough to have the conversation with my manager and tell her what I was trying to accomplish, again, she got me an executive coach. I was in a program. I worked with that person for about 6 months, and she truly taught me a lot about myself, because a lot of times you have to look inward to say, what is it I need to do? And that was what that helped me do. So the development, the support is absolutely there.
And I just want to add really quickly, there are other programs that we promote from a firm-wide perspective, and one is called VP Academy. So that's for high-performing Black and Hispanic employees that are looking to be promoted and want some additional coaching on how to get there. And so Valerie Rainford has eloquently put it in, the success formula. Success is equal to excellence plus exposure. And so that program really enables those high performers to lift their heads up a little bit more and figure out how do they network and get outside of their comfort zone and, not be as introverted, as they might be because they're so heads down, and figure out a way and get to that path of promotion. And so we are looking at ways to really increase our pipeline for people that want to get to the executive director level, to get to the managing director level.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Just hold tight. I know you guys have class after this, but one more question.
And you're all anxious to get to class.
Yes. And we have some logistical announcements to make before you leave. So,
hello.
Question.
Good for you. So we are an employer of 250,000 people. Terrence talked a little bit about, we have a wholesale side and a retail side. I'll keep it simple, right? If you think about, how many of you have a bank account? Wow. So one of the things we do in our on the retail side of our business is we have banks, retail banks that you can walk into, or you can go online and you can deposit your money, you can invest, right? We have You Invest. So Jpmorgan is a financial powerhouse. We have retail banking, right, which is about people like you and I, right, deposits, investments, but it's also about, on the wholesale side, it is for large corporations who want a company to manage their assets or want their company to invest. We give advice. We are in multiple countries across the globe. Terrence talked a little bit about the fact that he talks to different people in different countries. I can tell you every single day that I walk into the office, I'm either talking to someone in India or someone in Ohio or someone in Asia. So it's a diverse global employer of choice. I would encourage each of you to go out and Google us, because there's not enough time to sit here and tell you everything we do. But that's just a little snippet of what it means that for Jpmorgan as a financial services provider.
And just to put it in perspective, does anybody know how much the Powerball is on Saturday?
Yeah.
It's over 500 million, right? So we move trillions of dollars through our infrastructure every single day. Okay, so you can do the math on, like, when Bernadette says, like, we're a global financial powerhouse. Think about that responsibility as a firm. And if you want to impact change, come to Jpmorgan Chase. We will give you the opportunity.
Okay, great. All right. Jpmorgan Chase. Let's give Terrence and Bernadette Dorsey a round of applause. Jpmorgan has a very strong relationship with Delaware State University, and it is growing. We really appreciate these two leaders for coming out today. We have another full afternoon of activities for you. Secondly, let's give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for coming out and learning about this information as your minds are developing. So, Jill, do you have any announcements about the next steps? We want to make a few announcements. We've got at 12:30 is our networking. Jill, are you ready to go?
Sure.
Perfect.
I'm definitely ready to go. So we, at 12:15, actually, we'll be starting with our speed networking. And so we have some food items for you guys as well, for anybody who would like to stay. I think we have tickets in the back for anybody who didn't pre-register. And then we're also hosting office hours, and we still have some spots left for that. So if you would like to come up and sign up to speak to us for about 15 minutes individualized, feel free to do that as well. But the next session will be in 309.
I don't know. I want to leave you guys with one point of reference. And I'm stealing this, or I'm borrowing this from Valerie Rainford. You've heard us mention her name multiple times. She wasn't able to be with us. But one thing I want you to take away from this is a formula. It's a formula that Terrence quoted that Valerie Rainford created at Jpmorgan, which is success equals excellence plus exposure. And no matter where you go in life, you can say to yourself, I'm going to put my head down and do my job to the best of my ability. Thank Delaware State University for having us today, and I encourage you all to participate in the activities through the remainder of the day. Thank you.